Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to study the poem The Ant and the Cricket, adapted from Aesop's Fable. This is the first poem in your book NCRT Honeydew. To begin with the poem, I would like to tell you that this poem, The Ant and the Cricket, is a fable in a poetic form. I would like to ask you how many of you have read fables when they were young or the books like Panchatantra when they were young. I know everybody has done that. Now, the question arises, what is a fable? What is a fable? A fable is a story, often with animals as characters, that convey a moral. Here in the poem, also, as the name suggests, the ant and the cricket, they are animals here. And this story, this poem, is going to convey a message or give you a moral. Here in this poem, we have two main characters. First one is the ant, and second is the cricket. Ant is hardworking, who can face all types of situations, whereas cricket is lazy, who loves merrymaking. Here, cricket is not a game, it is an insect. Before I begin with the story, or before I tell you something about the story, I would like to discuss something with you all. Every day, we see our parents who go out and work. They work hard to save money. Why? The answer to it is to ensure a secure future. And they even teach us the same thing. But still, there are many people who don't believe in securing their future. They love merrymaking, just like the cricket. There are many people who are hardworking, but still there are people who are like cricket. This poem contains an idea of far seeking significance, which is true of a four legged cricket as of a two legged one. You all have seen a cricket that has two legs. Yes, we are talking about human beings. Now it's time for the summary of the poem as well as the misunderstood words. Before I begin with the summary of the poem, I would like to discuss the misunderstood words in the poem. You can see there are few words that are marked or they are blue in color. There are some phrases also, and there are some words also that are blue in color. I'm going to discuss them first with you, and then I'm going to give you the summary of the poem. As explanation of each stanza, I have already given you in my previous video. The first word is accustomed to. Accustomed to means used to. Next word is a crumb. A crumb means a piece of bread, not a crumb to be found. There was nothing there. He could not find a single piece of bread for himself. Starvation. Starvation refers to hunger. Famine refers to extreme scarcity of food. Miserly means stingy, hesitant to spend money. You can see that ant is stingy. We ants never borrow, we ants never lend. This means that ants do not take or give anything. Quoth, quoth means said. Gay, gay means happy. Hastily, hastily means hurriedly. Folks call this a fable, I warrant it true. Some crickets have four legs and some have true. I would like to discuss this line with you all. Here, the poet means that fable is true for human beings as well. As I told you in the beginning of the poem, also that these two animals, the ant and the cricket, are being compared to human beings. Though two-legged, some of us behave like that four-legged cricket. Yes, this is true that some of us really behave like the four-legged cricket. The poet refers to the people here who spend all their earnings and lay nothing by. They Some people really work hard, whereas some people behave like the four-legged cricket. That's why the poet said folks call this a fable. They just call it a story with a moral. But I warrant it true. Some crickets have four legs and some have two. There is a comparison being made. The poet has compared cricket to the two-legged people, that is, the human being. Now we come back to the story, the poem, and now I'll be discussing the summary with you all. As I told you that I had given you the explanation of each stanza in the previous video, now it's time to discuss the summary. There was a cricket. He used to sing and dance all through the pleasant months of summer and spring. He didn't plan anything for his future. When winter arrived, he found that there was no food at home. He began to complain, remember? He began to complain when he found that at home there was no food, his cupboard was empty. Then he said, what will become of me? That means what will happen now? How he will survive? He was starving. As the cricket couldn't find a single crumb to eat, so he decided to go to the ants, and he requested the ant to lend him food and shelter, and he even promised that he'll return it back. But the poor cricket did not get anything from the ants. As but the poor cricket did not get anything from the ants. Here refers to where I had told you that these ants never borrow, these ants never lend. The poor cricket even told the ants that if you will not provide him with food and shelter, he'll die. Here, while they were talking to each other, the ant gives a very important lesson of life. And during this conversation with the cricket, the miserly ant, after listening to the cricket, said, we ants never borrow, we ants never lend. We don't take anything from anybody, nor we give it to anybody. Ants are hard-working creatures and safe for the future. The ants asked the cricket what it was doing during the happy times. What it was doing during the happy times, that is the pleasant months of summer and spring. The cricket said he was dancing and singing. On hearing this, the cricket was indulged in merrymaking, that is, singing and dancing. The ants asked the cricket to dance the winter away. Now, these ants even asked the cricket what they were doing when the weather was pleasant. The cricket answered that I sang day and night. He said, my heart was so light that I sang day and night. That is, he was singing and dancing. He was enjoying that time because the weather looked happy. For on listening or to hearing to the cricket, the ant said, then go and dance the winter away. That means now go and enjoy your rough time. That is the tough phase of your life. And at the end, what did the ant do? He, the ants lifted up the wicket. Wicket refers to the door. So it just he opened the door for the cricket and turned out the cricket out of his house. Saying so, the ants turned the cricket out of his house. Folks call this a fable. I warrant it true. Some crickets have four legs and some have two. Here, the poet means that the fable is true for human beings as well. Though two-legged, some of us behave like that four-legged cricket. The poet refers to the people who spend all their earnings and lay nothing by. Now it's time for the moral of the story, moral of the poem. The first moral says, careful planning is essential as it ensures secure future. The cricket did not plan anything for his future, and that's why he could not survive. Whereas the poet is telling you, the story is telling you, the poem is telling you that we should plan for a future well. Second is hard work leads to fruitful life. Yes, hard work really leads to a fruitful life. The ants worked hard and that's why they were able to handle the winters well. They were able to survive in winters because they had stored a lot of food for themselves. Now, it's time for figures of speech. Before I begin with figures of speech, I would like to know what are figures of speech. A figure of speech is a deviation from ordinary use of words in order to increase their effect. How will you increase the effect? By adding these figurative language, by adding these figures of speech. When you add these figures of speech, automatically your poem becomes interesting. There are many figures of speech. Here, figures of speech is basically a figurative language that may consist of single word or phrase. There are many figures of speech. It can be simile, it can be metaphor, personification, alliteration, anaphora, paradox, pun, understatement, and many more. But we are going to discuss only three figures of speech. The first one is personification, second is alliteration, and third is metaphor. Before I begin with the figures of speech, I would like to tell you that I'll be discussing the figures of speech present in the poem, few of them, and I'll be giving you examples also along with it, other examples rather than present in the poem. The first one is personification. What is personification? If you could see the word personification, in the word itself, there is person present. That means we are talking about humans. Personification is a figure of speech in which a thing, an idea, or an animal is given human attributes. The non-human objects are portrayed in such a way that we feel that they have the ability to act like human beings. In the poem also, The Ant and the Cricket, you have seen that ant and cricket have been personified as human beings with human qualities. Isn't it? The ant is the hard-working human, whereas the cricket is the lazy human being. To begin with, few examples. The first one is if I say the sentence like, the paper was dancing through the air. Paper was dancing through the air. Paper doesn't dance. Now, if I say the stones were skipping along the pavement, again, stones were skipping along the pavement. Stones cannot skip. Paper cannot dance. So paper was dancing and stone was skipping is personification here. Why? Because they are given the human traits. As I said, giving human traits or characteristics to something that isn't human, such as animals, objects, or non living things, is personification. Things that are personified are described as though they have senses, moving actions, and feelings like humans and animals is personification. Now we move on to the poem. We'll come back to the poem and I'll show you. In the first sentence itself, you can see a silly young cricket accustomed to sing. Here, the cricket is acting as a human being. This line is personification. Again, if I come to the third line, began to complain when he found that at home his cupboard was empty and winter was come. Began to complain when he found again here he is cricket who is acting like a lazy human being. His cupboard was empty. Again, his is the cricket here who is acting as lazy human being. These lines are personification. This is personification. Now we move on. Rest personification, you are going to find it out for me. The worksheet is already been uploaded on ERP for the same. Next, we move on to alliteration. What is alliteration? Alliteration, the use of same letters or sound as the beginning of the words that are close together. Again, I repeat, the use of the same letter or sound at the beginning of words that are close together. I am talking about the sentence. If I give you the example, when the weather was warm, when the weather was warm, you can hear the repetition of the same sound. When weather warm, again this is alliteration. Another sentence like six silly swans went swimming in the sea. Six silly swans went swimming in the sea. Alliteration is the repetition of beginning consonant sounds, such as six silly swans went swimming in the sea. Six S, silly S, swans S, swimming S, sea S. It's important to note that not every word in the sentence has to begin with the same letter in order for it to be considered as alliteration. This sentence was alliteration. Again, if I move on to the poem, in the second line itself, come to the second line. Through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring. Through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring. This is alliteration. Sunny, summer, spring. Then this line, this is alliteration. There are other alliterations also present. You are going to find it out for me. As I said, the worksheet is already being uploaded on ERP. Next, we move on to metaphor. When I talk about metaphor, I would also like to discuss simile with you. Why I said so? Because when we talk about metaphor and simile, both sound similar because in both cases comparison is being made. But there is a difference between metaphor and simile. When I talk about simile you compare two unlike things using as or like, whereas in metaphor you make a direct comparison. If I say the sentence like Mike is like a teddy bear, if I say Mike is like a teddy bear, I am comparing Mike to teddy bear. Whereas if I say Mike is a teddy bear, I'm again comparing Mike to teddy bear. But in the first case, when I said Mike is like a teddy bear, it is a simile because I am comparing Mike to a teddy bear using like. Whereas when I said Mike is a teddy bear, again, when I said that Mike is a teddy bear, I am comparing Mike to teddy bear without using as or like. That means it is a direct comparison. If I say that boy is like a, if I say the boy is like a cat, again, the boy is like a cat and that boy is a cat. In both the sentences, there is a difference. In first case, I have compared the same boy to the cat using like, whereas in the second sentence, I said that the boy is a cat. Both the cases I'm comparing, but in the first case, I had used like, and that means that is a simile. Whereas in the second case, I just said that boy is a cat, and that this shows that it is a metaphor. That is the direct comparison. If I to the poem, come back to the poem, in the last line itself, some crickets have four legs and some have two. Some crickets have four legs and some have two. Here, the cricket is being compared to the human being. Some. It is acting as metaphor here. Now, it's time to tell you that you will be doing your working with text and the sheet assignment is uploaded for the same on your ERP. I'll be sending you other sheets as well as notes for the same. Thank you.